everyone from A Case of Living. Wow, it has been a while since we have done this. Scott Holmes, how are you?
Doing it absolutely incredible today.
Great. Scott, before we start on our new adventure here, Perspective from the Front Porch of the Milky Way, how many books have you done now, Scott?
13, 13 books.
13
There-
books.
The, the latest is Joy Unleashed,
Joy
um, which
Unleashed.
was probably one of the easiest pieces I had to write because it was about joy. And who doesn't like to talk about the good stuff?
The good stuff. Yeah, well, all your books are about good stuff, though. Yeah.
Thank you. Some are heavier, but yeah, you're right.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
congratulations, congratulations. I'm so proud of you, so proud of you. So, we will have in the information how to get Scott's books and more about Scott, information about Scott. But thank you, Scott. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and why you are my resident guru, go-to guru for everything. And thank you for all you have always done for me.
So it's been, I think, 3.5, 4 years now that Misha and I have worked together. She has given me perspectives on life, the galaxy, and introduced me to so many different aspects of things that I could not see. She's opened doors for me. Each and
Oh,
every collaboration that I've done, and again, I've written in 13 of them, has been the next step in my evolution, my transformation, my transcendence, my understanding. And it is, for those of you who don't, I suggest writing. People ask all the time, how do you become a writer? And of course, Hemingway always said, "You're right."
right.
But it's about expression. For
Yeah.
me, it's become my creative expression. It's my way of being able to deal with the world, being able to understand it, being able to share. Most everybody in our lives wants connection. They want they want that connection. They want to know they matter. They want to know that they aren't alone. And so I find that my writing has been about telling people a story and having them connect and say, I'm not alone in the world.
Right.
And I don't know about anybody else, but I've always felt that writing is alchemy. You take a pen and paper, and out of it comes emotion. And we're going to talk more about emotions later on, but it's about being able to create that connection.
Right. Wonderful. Well, Scott, you are a master at all of those things. And so I'm always so grateful to have your perspectives.
Well,
And so
thank you.
um that's what we're here to talk about is perspective from the front porch of the Milky Way. And Scott's kind of got his own front porch going there. And his own version of the Milky Way, and y'all are like there. I don't see a bit of space with any of y'all, so y'all's show title doesn't make a bit of sense, and so we're just going to delve right into that. Um, and mine is blurred in the background because I live in an RV. I'm a full-time RVer, and Scott, I introduced him to, well, I didn't personally introduce him to it, but I encouraged him greatly. And not that he hadn't ever been to the ocean before, but I said, Scott, keep going to the ocean. And now that Scott has started going more often, Scott is like, now I know why you want to stay at the ocean. And
You
so
are a kid.
yeah, so now Scott is an ocean. Scott would be a beach bum if it was feasible. Wouldn't you, Scott? Me too. Me too. I want to find a way to afford to keep this RV parked just at the ocean all the time. It's just they kind of frown on that. They don't like you to put to just park it just right on the beach. So, But anyway, the front porch of the Milky Way. What do we mean by that? Well, it's kind of about porch sitting. What do you think of, Scott, when somebody tells you that they want to sit on a front porch? What does that bring to mind for you?
For me, when I was a kid, my grandparents lived up in Vermont, and
Yeah,
my grandfather was a dairy farmer, and they had this huge screened-in porch,
yeah,
and they lived on the second floor of a house, and we would live out on the porch. And I would sleep on the porch because my grandmother didn't have all that many beds. So when we went to visit, I'd sleep out there, and I'd hear the cows mooing and my grandfather getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go out and feed them, and I'd hear all this, and it for me it brings back being connected to the world. You
Yeah.
know, we're in the house so often. We are house dwellers. We're inside dwellers now instead of we're being outside. And being on the front porch allows you protection with perspective to be able to see things. This past summer, on Cape Cod, and we were in a condo and sitting on the second floor, and I had a porch that looked out over the beach, but also I could see Martha's Vineyard across the water. And I did so much work out there. I I I preferred. I was protected from the sun. I could have my computer. I was close to the bathroom, always important. And but it allowed me to really be a part of the world and being able to view it. And for me, the porch has always signified relaxation, introspection, and observation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about a porch is a porch has a feel to it. A porch has a certain feel to it. As you're saying, it feels safe. It feels like home, even if it's not your own porch. People sit down on a porch and they'll talk about things that they won't talk about in other places. A porch is, especially if you got an accent like mine, a porch is where you have your sweet tea or your unsweet tea or your lemonade or your coffee or beverage of choice, whatever your beverage of choice is, and and you just talk, and you don't have to be right, you don't have to be wrong on the porch. Although there can be some of that too. But a porch is there's the term porch sitting, you know, and there's a porch sitter, and there, it's not uncommon to know that when you drive by certain porches, there's going to be a porch sitter there.
Oh, Lord, yes.
There's going to be the porch sitter, and some people may frown on that, but frequently in my world, porch sitters were usually the wise people. And not because they knew everything going on in the community per se, but because they were very introspective. They were wise people. They were almost like the oracles of old, if you will. They were very introspective. And so I think it's because, as you say, the one, you go within where is you find so much, but also because you observe what is going on as well. And so I think porches offer us that. They offer us the time and the space to go within, the time and the space to um, slow down and notice what's going on around us. And um, and we're going to get into that a little bit more, about how we do that, but porches don't necessarily have to be porches. I think a porch can be anywhere that you feel like slowing down, anywhere that can feel that way. A porch can be, for people in the cities, it can be those rooftop garden type places that they have. Um, it can be those um, little balconies on the side of the buildings. It can be those things. Porches can be like in a campground. It can be where your awning is at, and you got your rug out front. Porch can be anywhere you've got a place that you can just park, and you have that feeling of I'm secure here, I'm safe here. This is a porch can be anywhere where people just porch can be inside a coffee shop where people just gather, and it has that feel to it. Barbershops have a porch feel to them in a way. So porches aren't necessarily outside. Porches, I think, are any place that it's kind of the salon feel.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about my dad's parents. We would go to visit. He'd load all four of us kids in the car and we'd drive. They lived all of 10 minutes away.
Mhm.
And my grandparents had a set of stairs. That was their front porch. But They set chairs out and out in front of the porch, and they would just sit. And it was, I think this is the part that we've lost a lot of, and that is just sitting and enjoying. You don't have to be doing something. You don't have to have that interaction between. And I would hear stories from my grandparents that I had never heard before because they were talking. Because of
Right.
course, as kids, we soaked it all in, right? You soaked everything in that the grown-ups were doing, what they were saying, and
Mhm.
it was that's how we learned. That
Yeah.
really is how we learned uh, about what was right, what was wrong, what was expected, what was, and all of that came out of those talks, those really laid back kind of talks. And we don't get a chance to do that very often in this modern life.
Well, and I think that gets back to the feeling of porches and what they're for, and how we can slow down, and one, we can go within. We can quiet everything down. Your porches are, you can invite who on your porch you want to, or not invite them. Who will, unless you really live in the South, and then you kind of have no choice. People come on the porch whether you invite them or not. But just saying, folks. But it gives you a chance to go within, but it also it gives you a chance to observe what is going on around you. It's about perspective. A porch can be, the view can be as wide at the porch or as narrow as what you choose to let in or not let in. And you can let somebody on the porch with you or not let them on the porch with you, and still, how wide or narrow your view is still very individualistic. Just because you let 20 people on the porch doesn't mean you let their view in, or that you saw more, or that you got more from it. It is very individualized. It is, the view doesn't necessarily mean you could have that ocean view behind you, and doesn't mean that you take all of that in. You can narrow your focus and not take that in. So that is why it is called perspective from the front porch of the Milky Way. Is it is about um, it's about all these things we've talked about. First of all, it's about the fact that perspective matters so much. Now, we're not talking about focus. Focus is very different. Focus is choosing to not have too much on your plate, not having too much taking up your energetic bandwidth. It is correct with focus to say, I have to do this or that. So we don't, because we can't have, we only have so much energetic gratitude to give, so much energy, so much thankfulness within us. If we have a house, a car, family, etc., we're thankful for those things. We put energy into them. That's what thankfulness means, is putting energy into what we have. Okay, if we spread that out too much, then we're not still thankful for it. We don't still attract that to us. We lose those things. Okay, so we have to say this or that. We can't spread ourselves across so many timelines and spread ourselves so thin. That's called discernment. That's called focus. All right. So this or that is, in those cases, is not about perspective. That is about discernment. That is about how thin do we spread ourselves. That is energetic bandwidth. Perspective, though, um, perspective is not meant to be where we are not, where we exclude things. Perspective can't do that. Perspective has to be this and that. Perspective doesn't mean you're saying you agree with everything. Perspective means you respect the right of everything to be. It means I respect me, but because I respect me, the energy I put out, it automatically means I have to respect everything else. It doesn't mean
Mm.
it doesn't mean that I want it on my porch. Doesn't mean, but it means I respect that it has a right to have its own porch. I respect its right to be. Perspective is this and that always. Because at one time or another, it was either a part of our own perspective or it will become a part of our own perspective, because everything is the same energy. So, for an example, say someone is, I don't know, listening to some music that you don't approve of the lyrics. Okay, you don't have to listen to those lyrics, but something about that beat moves you, feels good to you. So you don't have to let the lyrics into your world, but you don't have to disapprove of the fact that they like those lyrics. You don't have to disapprove of the fact that they like that beat. You don't have to disapprove of the fact that they like music that you don't like. You have the right to have the perspective that, okay, I don't want that in my world. It's not what I want, but it's okay if you find yourself later that day moving to the same beat because somewhere else, somebody else had the same perspective and used that beat in different music that it turned out you did like. That's all about perspective. Now,
And it's
people don't think that way. People think, well, those two things had nothing to do with each other. They had everything to do with each other because it's all the same energy being reorganized and remixed in different ways. Now, if you shut that down completely, what some people will say is, no, no, that was about words. That wasn't about music. No, because that's a whole energetic piece. If you shut that whole energetic piece down, you miss the beat, you miss everything. If you say that doesn't have a right to exist, then you shut the whole piece down. So it's not. It's never black and white. It's never either or. It's this and that. It's okay. So I don't want to hear the words. So they need to go over there with those, love and light to them. And then along comes another piece that, oh, yeah, that's my perspective on music. And it just so happens it's got a little bit of that in it. And you have to be a big enough person, have a wide enough perspective to acknowledge, felt a little of that beat in there. And it had nothing to do with those words you did or did not like that rubbed you right or rubbed you wrong.
wrong. Yeah, in judgment, you're talking really about judgment and how judgment that we give to things
Yeah.
absolutely limits our perspective on things, how it
Yeah.
limits how we can understand things.
Yeah.
I, for me, it's always been, gee, I've never tried that. There are people that do that. There's fear in me about that. How come? And if millions of people can do it, I guess I can do it also. And it's that going past the judgment, going past of what is right and wrong or what you were given. It's about opening up to the possibilities. Why we travel, right?
Right.
To see different places.
Right.
Doing my front porch sometimes is an airplane because for me it changes in the time that I'm traveling into a different country, into a different space. I have this openness. I want to take everything in. I don't have judgment about whether they're doing it right or wrong. I want to understand what they're doing. I want to understand their culture, their food, how they live, what they do, what they believe. I want to know. I want to bring that in. I want to understand it. And it changes you when you have that ability to just stay open to what is and have no judgment about it.
Exactly. When we say this or that, we are saying, I will only accept part of something, and we only give part of ourselves. And when we do that, that is compromise. And every time we compromise, we have been taught compromise is the right way. Well, when this compromise and this compromise is put together, we have a compromised third. Nobody got what they wanted. So what it comes out of it, the compromised new dimension that is created, is lacking. It's not better. It doesn't have all of me. It doesn't have all of them. It has less of both of us. It is a drain of energy that will spiral down and out. It won't last. Compromise never lasts. It always leads to another compromise, another compromise, another compromise.
And what you're talking about is relationship.
Yeah,
It's very, very close to relationship. One plus one equals three. The
exactly.
relationship is the third part.
And
And,
so, oh,
and
oh no,
so,
go ahead. Oh,
oh,
okay. And
finish
so,
it.
so if we do perspective in that way, this or that, then the relationships we form, because everything is relationship, are compromised, and we are always being exclusive, and we are always going to have down and out or an inverted matrix. But if we look at perspective from the wider point, I don't have to feel what they're feeling the way they're feeling it, but I have to respect it, let them be whole, and I'm whole. And it may not even fit with me right now, but some part of it is going to match me at some point, like I did with the music just then.
Hmm.
That's going to form a third dimension that I found myself dancing to later because somewhere down the line it got to me. Then we form a wider, we went out and up. That is always going to build out and up, out and up. That is expansion. And that is always going to have, um, that's always going to build more and more energy.
Hmm.
Relationships are always going to last that way. Now, it may not be the same relationships. It may be that the relationships will get to be too much friction. And we're like, okay, I need to zig, they need to zag. And we let them go their separate ways. But we still do it with love and light because we do it with respect, because our focus changes, because we don't have enough energetic bandwidth for something that's too much friction for us. But focus changing is very different than not accepting that perspective is still this and that. There's a
Hmm.
difference between our focus is different, but our perspectives are both valid. There's a very big difference. So, perspective from the front porch of the Milky Way is about it takes all the perspectives for the whole to be complete and for the whole to keep expanding out and up. And that is from the porch that is open to everyone and offer and is a place for all perspectives. And when it's standing in the Milky Way, it can see. It's got a 360 view, literally. Or in every direction, every dimension that you can think of. That's why it's in the Milky Way. So that's why we've called the show that, and that's what it's about. And so, with that, how would you like to put your summary on that? That's why I've called it Perspective from the Front Porch of the Milky Way. That's my wrap. What's your wrap of it?
When you first told me, I absolutely loved it. It's about expansion. They say the Milky Way is a very small galaxy. From our perspective, it's absolutely infinite, but yet, how do you define infinite, right? But it allows you to be able to take in everything at the same time.
Mhm.
You've taken me on what we call the magic carpet ride, and that is going through the galaxy and going and seeing the world, my world, the universe in a much different perspective, in a much different way, understanding that while we have a very limited view of what is, I was just reading an article today. They were under the Arctic, eh, under the Antarctic, and they found new life forms that they did not know existed in trenches that were, 2 miles down and in. They were always there. We just didn't have the ability to see them. And so it changes. Just being open to what can be changes how we see what life is, how we define life, how we define ourselves. Light, vibration, energy. It basically it's the same thing.
Mm, it
And how
is.
we use it in our life changes that. We don't have problems. We have changes in perspective. If we live in a house and we look at it and say, oh my God, it needs this, it needs a new front door, and I have to get the windows done, and the basement has to be cleaned, and all of this, you have a perspective of the house. When I wake up in the morning, I say thank you that I get to live in a house that protects me. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to. There will always be something to work on when you have a house, when you have a place. And that's okay. That's what life is being a part of it. And so my perspective is, if you're engaged in your life, it'll constantly change. Now, most people don't like change. Oh, I don't like the change. Of course not. But we change minute to minute to minute. What we see changes minute to minute to minute. How life happens changes minute to minute. So we are constantly undergoing change. And when we accept that, all of a sudden, everything gets easier. Isn't that funny? It's just a matter of, accepting.
Yeah. Well, and I think having a front porch in the Milky Way would be a good place to watch all that change. Just kind of sit back and just kind of watch it all. I think there'd be a good place to do it. So I think this show's going to be a fun show. It gives us a good opportunity to watch change, discuss change, discuss what everything is. You brought up a lot just in that little closing that gives us, we can have, I don't know how many episodes, but we are coming up on the end of our time for this one. So I want to thank you again. Tell everyone how to find your books really quickly.
My website is rscottholmes.com.
rscottholmes.com.
And it's all the information on there. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I want them to understand that Meisha brings perspectives that you'll find nowhere else. So please tune in.
This is true. They are uniquely my own. And I have my own new book out because it's called Just Imagine and Remember. Every life is a story of conscious energy that changes everything. And we're going to talk about all of those things on these episodes of Perspective from the Front Porch of the Milky Way. Thank you, Scott, and thank you all. And we will be back with more episodes, we promise. Right, Scott?
You got it.
All right. Bye-bye.